Hare Krishna, this is Gopinath. And we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam this morning. But first, we are chanting Jai Radha Madhava. This class will be in English again. Jai Radha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayesu Bhatresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So we are continuing reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Creative Impetus, and chapter 26, continuing the description of the hellish planets. And today we have verse number 24. This is in a prose form. Yet vihavaishvagarbadha patayo brahmana nadayo mrigaya vihara atirthe chamrigan nignanti tan api sampareta lakshya putan yamapurusha ishubhir vidyanti. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. If in this life a man of higher classes, Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya, is very fond of taking his pet dogs, mules or asses into the forest to hunt and kill animals unnecessarily, he is placed after death into the hell known as Pranarodha. There the assistants of Yamaraj make him their targets and pierce him with arrows. Purport. In the Western countries, especially, aristocrats keep dogs and horses to hunt animals in the forest. Whether in the West or East, aristocratic men in the Kali Yuga adopt the fashion of going to the forest and unnecessarily killing animals. Men of the higher classes, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, should cultivate knowledge of Brahman, and they should also give the Shudras chance to come to that platform. If instead they indulge in hunting, they are punished and described in this verse. Not only are they pierced with arrows by the agents of Yamaraj, but they are also put into the ocean of pus, urine, and stool described in the previous verse. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataramnam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Iswaram. The verse again. In this life, a man of higher classes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, is very fond of taking his pet dogs, mules, or asses into the forest to hunt and kill animals unnecessarily. he is placed after death into the hell known as Pranarodha. There, the assistants of Yamaraj make him their targets and pierce him with arrows. So I beg the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas there on the internet world, Vaishnavas and seniors, so that I can speak from Srimad Bhagavatam truthfully, beneficially, and pleasingly, especially for my own purification. Hare Krishna. So there's a description of another hell where the persons, higher class persons who are hunting animals in the forest, unnecessarily killing animals, um, and then they get to be targets of the Yamaraja's assistants, the Yamadutas. They shoot arrows at such persons. We might have seen some arrow shooting competitions or some ancient war movies where arrows were shot. And for example, Mahabharata war, those soldiers were targets of opponents' arrows. Bhishma had to was leaving his body shot by being shot by arrows of Arjuna, and his full body was covered with pierced arrows, and he was just lying there on a bed of arrows. So it may not be such a pleasant experience. But there's definitely a description, like Prabhupada elaborates in the purport, that aristocrats keep dogs and horses to hunt animals in the forest. Especially, it reminds me of one such sporty activity in England, where lots of horse riding aristocrats behind their dogs, they are chasing one little fox, just to keep this kind of sporty activity. They are trying to harm that poor little fox who is running away for his life. And we have a story of Mrigari the hunter. Um, like Mrigari, he was hunting animals also. He was just half killing them, piercing them with arrows, but he didn't kill them thoroughly. So Narada Muni, when he saw this, he first of all he advised that why not to kill them properly. Like it's more painful to let them suffer. Just to first of all kill them properly if you want to kill them. Because when the body dies, then the pain is over. But if you just half kill an animal, then the animal is just suffering. It can't do anything, just suffering there on the ground. So that's more severe form of killing an animal, or just half killing it. So then Narada Muni also revealed the future vision for Nrigari the hunter. All these animals, they come and attack him and pierce him with their horns and whatever comes to bite him and eat him up alive. So that's a little different description than what this hellish planets is all description is all about. Instead of Yamadutas, the animals themselves, they come and torture this hunter. But nevertheless, there would be a reaction. for this kind of terrible activity. And therefore, uh, Mrigari the hunter changed his life, and afterwards he wouldn't be willing to kill even an ant. When later on Mrigari the hunter was visited by Narada Muni and another sage, the Mrigari, he ran towards them and wanted to pay obeisances, but he saw some ants crawling on the ground, so he wiped them away with his chadar and then paid obeisances. So just a reminder that when you, when hopefully not you or me or anybody else have to go to the hellish planets to take our suffering, but in the hellish planets, the person who goes there for punishment, obviously because they have left their gross body behind. They don't have gross body in the hellish planet. Um, only the subtle body, uh, the form of subtle body that they have manipulated their consciousness towards, and that the particular subtle body needs the punishment. So subtle body doesn't die; it just suffers there in a hellish planet. Like one of your future descriptions on this chapter is that um, Yamarutas are taking the punishable person to a very high mountain and throws him down from the mountain, and punished person, his body is uh, breaking when he smashes on the ground. It's breaking into pieces. But the Yamarutas, they just collect the pieces and puts the person back together. He doesn't die, and take him up again and throw him again. So, um, so there's only suffering in hellish planets for these particular punishments. The person himself doesn't die. And looking at description, I mean, the higher class people are described here. Previous verse was the Sudras who are getting the punishment, but here is the higher class people. What kind of Brahmana would go on hunting? I mean, Brahmanas by nature, they are very soft hearted. Kshatriyas are allowed to go for hunting just because they need to uh, practice their fighting skills. They are allowed to hunt such predator animals, beasts like tigers, but not any other innocent animal. And Vaishyas, they are supposed to protect the cows, uh, at least. Um, so why would they have some hunting idea to be in their mind? But in today's world, of course, people are keeping dogs as their pets at home and serving the dog, but then they are killing the cows. But well, in this verse, it is said that yeah, these hunters, they are taking their pet dogs, even mules and asses, to go on hunting, to go for a hunting trip. So Vedic culture also contains a punishment for persons who have done something wrong in the society. broken the rules, broken the law. So, in order to mitigate the sinful reaction of that criminal in the future, there has been different kinds of punishment, like death penalty. Even if one kills a person, it's an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth principle. So, if somebody murders somebody else, there would be a death penalty, just because this person is going to suffer badly uh, in the future. So, in order to mitigate his punishment in the future, it's better to take the reaction as soon as possible. So, so this was the idea of giving such punishment as death penalty in the Vedic culture. Usually, it is actually said that different varnas, they have different kind of punishments given. So generally, Shudras, the working class people, they are given a physical punishment for their crime, just like beating them or something. And the Vaishyas, because they are mercantile men, they have uh, they are given a financial penalty, like taking how do you say, giving them a ticket, or uh, depriving from them from their wealth, so that they can really feel their punishment. And for kshatriyas, soldier class, administrating class, they are lowered in their rank. A lieutenant, if he's punished, he might become a sergeant or something like that. And brahmanas are punished by their own mind. I mean, if they are doing something wrong, then they are bothered in their mind. The mind is punishing them. So brahmanas are considered unexpected to be such soft-hearted persons, uh, that they and of course applies to everybody. Everybody should be considerate. What will happen if I do this kind of uh, wrong thing? Somebody else's. The brahmanas, especially, if they see somebody else suffering, they will feel some suffering inside, and they feel naturally compassion to a suffering living being in the world. Mm. But then there are something which are called Brahma Bandhus, a friend of the Brahmana. Like we have some examples in the Bhagavatam. Uh, Son of a Brahmana who has no Brahminical qualifications. Just like in the beginning of Bhagavatam, as a story of Maharaj Pariksit is told, he is in a hunting trip. Okay, he's a Kshatriya. He can hunt for improving his battle skills. So he comes to the hermitage of Samika sage. The Samika sage, he's just meditating, and he's in deep meditation. He doesn't realize that the king has come to his ashram, and he just continues staying in a trance meditation. And because Maharaj Pariksit is a little bit tired for that hunting trip, and Samika sage doesn't receive him properly, so he puts uh, as a little expression of his dissatisfaction, he puts a dead snake around his neck, like a garland. And and then Samika's son Shringi comes in the scene, and notices the snake, which is like an offense. He takes it as an offense against his father, and then he curses Maharaj Parikshit to die within 7 days. Uh, um, so this is um, inconsiderate nature of Sringi. He's considered as a Brahma Bandhu only a friend of a Brahmana without properly developed Brahminical qualities, uneducated Brahmana. Same thing with Ashwatthama, like during the battle of Kurukshetra, Ashwatthama uh, gets a vision of an owl uh, and hunting for birds, and the owl sees some bird's nest and some little birdies. They are sleeping there, and this owl is hunting the uh, little birds in the nest and killing them and eating them. So Ashwatthama gets an idea that he will go in the middle of the night when the Pandavas is sleeping. He goes and kills the Pandavas. What kind of a he was a son of Brahmana, son of Dronacharya. What kind of Brahmana is this? I mean, in the nighttime you are not supposed to do any fighting, but Ashwatthama got this terrible idea from seeing this owl hunting at night. So he goes to Pandava's camp, and it was so dark that instead of Pandavas, he kills the sons of the Pandavas and he cuts their heads and brings them to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana, it was end of the Kurukshetra battle, and Duryodhana was defeated by Bhima already, and he was just lying there, half unconscious. And Ashwatthama brings the heads of sons of the Pandavas, and Duryodhana is just touching the heads and recognizing that these are not the Pandavas, these are the sons of the Pandavas. And Ashwatthama got really in trouble with that. And therefore, Krishna and the Pandavas, they were hunting for Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama had to, because he was a Brahmana, he was knowledgeable, even though uncultured. He he set out the Brahmastra weapon, which is very fierce and difficult to withdraw. But because Krishna was with them, Krishna withdrew Ashwatthama's Brahmastra weapon, and they caught Ashwatthama. And there was that's a whole discussion in the Bhagavatam also, how Ashwatthama had some kind of jewel attached to his head, so they shaved him up and took out the jewel, and in this way, because he was the son of a Brahmana, they didn't directly kill him physically, but by defaming him, they practically killed him in this way. And Ashwatthama lost his caste practically. So in today's world, there are lots of meat eaters around, and Prabhupada had compared today's society to be the society of cats and dogs, polished animals, or even United Nations. He called United Animals. Just because, I mean, United Nations, they have definitely some good, peaceful intention with their attempt. But just since they are still identifying with their bodies. They think that they are from different nations. They are under the designation, idea of designation, temporary designations of being in different from different countries, different races, and that's why identifying with their body. That's why Prabhupada called them. They are just united animals. Uh, Srila Prabhupada was asked to speak in one United Nations conference, and he was bringing out this verse from Bhagavad Gita 5.29, which is a peace formula. Bhaktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. So we have to um, know that Krishna or the Supreme Lord is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and penances, and Lord of all the demigods and planets, as well as well-wisher of all the living beings, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. So in that kind of consciousness, one gets a real peace. Um, so if you're God conscious, if you are Krishna conscious, then you are already peaceful in this world. And also in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes some qualities of a devotee, which he considers or like good qualities. That such a person who has these qualities is very, very dear to Krishna. And in Bhagavad Gita 12.13 to 14, that's a double verse. He explains, for example, that by one, he by whom no one is put into difficulty. So thinking about this verse, that these higher class or so-called higher class people, they are going for hunting, but one who is by whom no one is put into difficulty, that is a quality which is very dear to Krishna. So we shouldn't give any trouble to anybody. But in today's world, when you are not worshipping God, you will be worshipping a dog, not God, but dog. So we see today when people have all kinds of pets, like dog owners, they go and take their dog out, and then they have these little plastic bags, and when the dog passes stool, the master has to collect the stool in a plastic bag and feed the dog and wash the dog and whatever. So in this way, people are worshipping dogs instead of God. And so in this way, Srila Prabhupada called this present society as headless society, because there are no brahmanas to guide the human society in the right direction. Or if they were, the leaders of the society, they have no interest to listening to such brahmanas. So Krishna consciousness movement, ISKCON, is established to create brahmanas. Like Srila Prabhupada says here, that everybody should cultivate knowledge of Brahman, become in the more Brahminical platform. Everybody should make some advancement in their life to develop their consciousness, and not lower to their consciousness to animal level, but uh, develop their consciousness to understand the higher principles of life, higher values of life, and then elevate one's life all the way up to returning to the kingdom of God. And Srila Prabhupada was giving Brahmana initiations to his devotees, to his disciples, Western disciples. And some Indian people, they came to protest this one time, that, that our valuable uh, status is being spread to uncultured Westerners. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, we can read that even though those who were born, those who were low born in families of mediators and uneducated groups of people, uneducated societies out of the Vedic culture, even if they start to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they can become purified. And uh, there was a little incident that some Indian people came to raise their voice against Prabhupada, and some of Prabhupada's disciples, like Tamal Krishna Goswami, was there also, and he was ready to stop these persons, but Prabhupada showed him that let them shout, speak, or shout at me. And then Prabhupada started to speak that he's just following his spiritual master's orders. And if you think about the Western world, I mean, that's definitely a place where Brahminical culture, cultivation of Brahminical culture is needed. So uh, that's why ISKCON has established so many temples around the world to give an opportunity for Western part of the world to be elevated to a Brahminical platform. And of course, especially our form of purification is chanting of the Lord's holy names by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, so that we can remember Krishna at the end of life and not having to go to be the targets of Yamadutas for their arrow shooting sports, but instead going back to Godhead. Or if we go to hellish region, we can also try to preach there. Nevertheless, chant the holy name, Hare Krishna. I can end here. There are some questions. What about people who keep animals as pets, like cats, which eat only meat? Yes, well, I had a cat one time, and it's not that they eat only meat. I was actually in a situation. I was devotee already that time, so I fed the cat also some prasadam rice, and the cat ate it. So you can also. I mean, cats. They are. I mean, animals. They have to act according to their nature. So, but you can feed a cat with some non-meat food also. Um, and you can try some different vegetables, maybe if they are a little bit soft and maybe unsalted, something like that. Knowingly, cats also drink milk, So you can feed cat milk and prasadam milk, so the cat gets benefited. So just add some prasadam in there. Um, of course, if you can be without these kind of domestic animals, then that's also an option. Mm, but in my experience, our cat was eating also little prasadam rice. Uh, so it's not only the meat that the cat eats. Then there's a question: how about killing an animal out of mercy if the animal, for example, is suffering? Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. That's also in the realm of human beings. Also, like if a human body is lying there and on a bed of a hospital and just suffering for pains and being there like a vegetable, can't do anything. So they have this concept of euthanasia, something like that. Which means killing somebody to relieve them from actual suffering. Mm, these are like a border situations. What to do in such case? I don't really remember what our actual line is, but as far as I can remember, I think it's that person's karma anyway to suffer like that. So uh, to relieve from their karma mm, more effectively, uh, we could say that let the suffer go on, and then he will be ultimately relieved from that bad karma. Hmm. But in the case of Mrigari, uh, uh, Narada Muni gave him instruction to at least um, kill the animal properly. Uh, we had one elephant in Mayapur one time named Gulab Kali. Um that was in the past. Now there are two elephants in Sri Ram Mayapur, but before these two elephants, uh, there was one elephant before them. That elephant died, and the doctor came to see him. I actually forgot how they deal with this elephant, so I cannot give direct experience, but that that elephant was just lying down and couldn't do anything and waiting for death. But I just don't remember how they dealt with him. Hmm. Sorry if I couldn't answer the questions very uh, elaborately. Hmm. All right. I think I can stop here. I have some uh, things to do. Thank you very much for your participation and your questions. Let's see if there's something in on the YouTube channel. just Hare Krishna. All right, I wish you a very happy, healthy, Krishna conscious day. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.